Today's going to be a good one. Today I'm introducing a new series here on the channel, and I don't believe any other channel has ever done this in YouTube history. So let me know down below in the comments what you think of the idea. Should be tons of fun, should be plenty informative, and let's see what kind of lineups we can build, right? But before we get into that, if you enjoy the channel at any point, please support us down below. You know, whether if you just like the video, share the podcast, or subscribe to the channel, it all goes a very long way. We're on the road to 500 subs, and we can't get there without you guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get into it, I just want to give you guys a quick rundown, just a quick premise of the overall idea, and we're going to see if it's been done before, right? But today we have the AFC North, and for all 8 divisions, we're going to need 4 players in their videos to make up a small lineup. We're going to need a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and tight end. And this will be based off of current day fantasy football ADP, and we'll only have a 4-player lineup to build. Okay, and we're only going to be able to use the teams in the division. So today we have the AFC North, 1 player per team. So for example, if I use Lamar Jackson, he can no longer be used. Mark Andrews can't be used, etc., etc. Only 1 player per team. But here's the twist. I have to try and build the best possible lineup with players that are drafted from only the 3rd round on, which let me know if that should be moved back to the 4th or even 5th round. But these will have to be the best available values on the current day draft boards from this division, 1 player from each team, to make the best overall lineup. So let me know what you guys think of the idea down below. And without further ado, let's hop into the first player, as my first value is going to be Mark Andrews. Now, I could have considered a Lamar Jackson here, a guy you can draft in the late 3rd round, right? A guy who's a top 5-ish quarterback for me. I could have considered J.K. Dobbins, a top 20-ish running back for me, right? Both guys have plenty of upside with the new offensive coordinator and Todd Monken, and Odell Beckham as well as another guy that I should throw out there, as he'll be a quality wide receiver 1 if he can stay healthy. That's the biggest question with OBJ. We all know that, right? The sky is blue. But Mark Andrews, I mean, we're talking about a guy that in 2021, he had 100-plus receptions, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he was the overall tight end 1 in fantasy scoring. And no, Travis Kelce didn't get suspended at all. He didn't miss any time due to injury. Mark Andrews was simply better that season. Mark Andrews last year got off to a hot start before his production fell off in October. But I will say, over those first 6 games that Lamar was healthy last season, Mark Andrews was averaging about 19 fantasy points per game at the tight end position. This dude was on fire to start the year. It's also worth note that over his last 9 games with the Lamar Jackson injury, Mark Andrews was dealing with his own fair share of knee and shoulder issues, as well as his quarterback not being there, so rightfully so, his numbers took a hit after Lamar went down. If you don't want to pay the 1st round price for the Travis Kelce in any of your drafts this year, which it might be worth, but if you don't want to pay that price, you want to go other positions, and then grab an elite tight end later, I mean, why not wait to the early 3rd round and draft a guy like Mark Andrews that could easily be the tight end 1 on the season? I mean, this is a guy, he's still in his prime. For the most part, he's been healthy in his career. Lamar's back in what should be a more pass-focused offense. Plus, I mean, he's 2 rounds cheaper than Travis Kelce. To me, I think he's the best overall value on the draft board for the Baltimore Ravens. And I think, no doubt in my mind, he's going to be my tight end here for the AFC North going forward. Moving over to the quarterback position, which is also the Cincinnati Bengals, we're going to move over to the middle of the 4th, as I'm going to draft Joe Burrow. And this is a guy that, as the 2nd best player in the league, Joe Burrow has firmly established himself also as an elite fantasy quarterback. I mean, he finished as the quarterback 4 last year with a career high in passing touchdowns, as well as 5 rushing touchdowns on the ground. I mean, their O-line this offseason has improved dramatically. And not to mention, I mean, this is a guy that still has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, even Irv Smith is a guy to mention. He has the best overall weapons at his disposal, right? Year in and year out. And not to mention, I mean, Joe Mixon might also be suspended, so does that open up more passing volume for Joe Burrow this year? I mean, that's going to be some questions you have to ask yourself. But to me, I mean, he's a consensus top 5 quarterback for fantasy football this year, yet again. And if you don't want to pay the 2nd round price for a Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, or Josh Allen, wait 2 rounds, draft Joe Burrow, and maybe set your team up with one of the best possible stacks with a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, or with a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. I mean, Joe Burrow, to me, if you can get him in the 4th round, in the middle of the 4th here, I think he is a steal, and he's, again, the best overall value past the 2nd round for the Cincinnati Bengals, in my opinion. You can argue Joe Mixon. For me, again, this is where strategy had to come in. I wanted a chance to have the number 1 overall quarterback on this AFC North team while still having very good options at the next 2 positions. So you can only imagine strategy was a big part of this, and it will be for the rest of the divisions. Moving over to the running back position for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as you guessed it, it is Najee Harris. Some other values here that I really like are George Pickens. Deontay Johnson in his own right is a steal. And Pat Freiermuth, I mean, he was close to being the tight end for this division, as he can get him in the early 10th round, as he's the 10th rated tight end going right now. And you can get him in the 10th round, right? So that's a guy that can finish as the top 10 tight end in the latter half of your draft. So Pat Freiermuth was close to being the selection for the Steelers. However, I'm going to go with Najee Harris, a guy you can get in the late 4th, early 5th round in your drafts, and he's going to be the 12th, 13th, 14th running back going off the boards. To me, this is a guy that has potential to be top 5, top 8, right, at the running back position. And if you can get him in that much of a value in the 4th or 5th round, it is a steal for your team going forward. But I love Najee this year, to be completely honest, and for good reason, right? His offensive line was addressed this offseason, right? So he doesn't have to worry about getting touched before he at least crosses the line of scrimmage. And despite his bad season last year, Najee was still 8th in total touches, and he was the running back 7 the second half of the year, right? And he finished as the running back 14 last year, despite, again, his bad season. He's still going to have Kenny Pickett as his quarterback, as we all know, and the passing work will always be there with a guy like Kenny Pickett at the helm. And he should be that workhorse running back for you that you can look for, after your first couple rounds. I will say he did drop 11 spots from year 1 to year 2. But even with that said, again, he was the running back 14. That is an elite running back 2 league-wide in any league. And in a 10-team league, that's still a very, very good running back 2 option. If you start with a tight end early strategy, right? Let's say if you go with a Travis Kelce early, or you start with 2 wide receivers early, target Najee Harris. I'm telling you, target him in the 4th or 5th round, pair him with a Jahmyr Gibbs or another running back, and you're going to have a great team going forward and a lot of potential to really take over your league and make your team unfair. And we're going to finish off here at the wide receiver position. Again, it's only a 4-person lineup, right? But this is what makes it fun, right? We're trying to get the best overall players at the best overall value for each division. To me, at the wide receiver position, it is Amari Cooper for the Cleveland Browns. Go Browns. But to me, the other players I contemplated here, right? Deshaun Watson in the 8th round. I mean, that's a steal. Elijah Moore was close to being the selection, as I debated if he's a better value than Amari Cooper in the 4th round. But Elijah Moore, I said, you know what? Let me give the edge to the veteran in Amari Cooper. And then David Njoku was in the late 9th. You can get a guy like that can finish possibly top 5 at the position. There's a couple different options here for this Browns offense, and that's coming from a Browns fan, so maybe that's some bias. But I think there is a lot of value here on the Cleveland Browns in the draft boards. But to me, Nick Chubb even, he doesn't qualify for this video, but if you can get him in the mid to late 2nd round, sometimes I see him going at that point. He's a steal at the mid to late 2nd, even though he doesn't have the PPR upside as other running backs. Nick Chubb is still a workhorse guy, and if he can fall to the middle to the late 2nd, please grab him, right? Don't overthink it. But moving over to Amari Cooper, as this is a guy who was wide receiver 14 last year with Jacoby Brissett as his majority quarterback in a run-heavy offense, in a Kevin Stefanski offense. He was 12th in red zone and deep targets last year, and he was also one of the most double-teamed wide receivers. So he was an elite wide receiver too, while having a subpar quarterback and being one of the most double-teamed wide receivers. That sounds like a great receiver to me. But the receiving corps should be better this year for Amari Cooper. And you might think that's a bad thing, right? Because there's other competition. But to me, that's only a better thing here for Amari Cooper, as he's going to be facing less double teams with the more talented group. And that's going to mean that he's going to face more one-on-one opportunities with the cornerback. And that is when Amari is at his best, as he's one of the best route runners that we have in the NFL today. And not to mention, Deshaun Watson, he's back, and hopefully with a full offseason under his belt to mesh with his team and the coaching staff and get his feet back under him. to me, if Deshaun Watson can be 80% of his last year in Houston for this Cleveland Browns team this year, I think Amari Cooper is set for a wide receiver 1 finish. I believe David Njoku could be a top 5 tight end. And I think this Browns offense can surprise a lot of people as we're shaping up to be a run-heavy offense again. But maybe, just maybe, this new offensive coordinator we brought in will change that and we'll play more up-tempo like Chip Kelly used to do back in the day. But for Amari Cooper, I mean, if you can get that production in the 4th round, you're in pretty good shape. It's plain and simple. If you can get a top 15 receiver in the 4th round, you're set. And I believe Amari Cooper has the possibilities to be a top 12, top 15 receiver for you. So let's recap here. As for a quarterback position, we figured the best value in this division was going with Joe Burrow in the 4th round. For Najee Harris, we said, hey, if you can get Najee Harris at the end of the 4th or the early 5th, that is the best overall value at the running back position. You can argue J.K. Dobbins, but if you say J.K. Dobbins, you would have to go with a J.K. Dobbins and then Pat Freiermuth at your tight end position. And to me, I'd rather have Najee Harris and Mark Andrews. I'd rather have the bigger names with the guaranteed volume. And then at the receiver position, we said Amari Cooper. You can argue Odell Beckham, or you can argue George Pickens or Deontay Johnson. To me, I went with Amari Cooper, a guy that can still be a wide receiver 1, and you can get him in the late 4th, just like Najee Harris. And then Mark Andrews, no surprise here. He's the best overall fantasy player on this board as far as value. And I think, whether if you get him in a 10-team league or a 12-team league, he just has that much positional value, right, to his name as tight ends. There's not a lot of elite options, right, compared to other positions here. And you can get him in the 3rd round. I think it just puts your team in a different zone going forward, as you'll get the positional advantage every single week with a guy like Mark Andrews. But that's going to do it for today's video, as again, you see the recapped lineup on your screen. We're going to go through the last 7 divisions and give those lineups to you as well. This way we can give you guys great information on these players going forward, as it's hard to mess up your first 2 rounds of your draft, right? So the rest of your draft is really when you want to get these values and you really want to put your team over the top to win that belt or that prize, or to simply just avoid elimination and those brutal those brutal things you have to face if you come in last. But regardless, this is the lineup for the AFC North, and we will see you guys tomorrow with another great podcast here on the channel, a fan-led show. So if you still want to get involved, hit us up on any of our platforms here. We're on 4 or 5 different platforms. Just get at us, any platform, and drop us your question or your hot take for tomorrow's show. But let me know what you guys think about the lineup, and if you guys are interested in editing for today's, or for the podcast, for the channel, if you guys would like to partner with us and we can talk about prices and video quality and all that good stuff and images, just let me know. Hit us up on any of our platforms if you do like to edit videos and you can do it efficiently. We would love to have you here on the channel, as we're looking to take our channel to the next level. But until then, we see you guys tomorrow. Stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.